We'll finish up all about the archaeological evidence that supports first century Greek writings of the New Testament. Many finds, because part of a city was rebuilt, and they uncovered in the rubbish a very authentication of a point here and a point there, especially in Luke's writings. He's a great historian as well as a doctor who made all kinds of geographical points and named names and places and events and people's titles and so on. And so it's like food for those who are skeptics. Say, well, that didn't happen. We don't have a record of that. We don't have a record of this. And we find out that we have records of everything so far, and nothing that we've discovered, especially in the area where Jesus was doing his ministry in the Middle East. Many artifacts and things were found completely corroborate the Bible. Nothing so far refutes it. Nothing at all. So here we go. The title of the study is Bible2.htm. And we're looking at the governor of the area at the time Jesus was born. Point 14. Let's see if we can find that. There it is. This writing in this chart is so small, I'm going to blow it up some more. See if we can find it again. It moves every time I make the writing bigger. Can we find it? Now we don't find it. There we go. There it is. Okay. It's a little bit larger. This is a nice computer. I can make the font size bigger, but then it's a scramble to find out where I was. Quirinius, wherever, Cyrenius. He had two different names depending upon the language that they're translating from. Was governor of Syria when Jesus was born. Critics of the Bible say that Luke wrote a contradiction in the Bible when he said that Quirinius, or whoever, was governor of Syria when Jesus was born. Their stance is usually as follows. Matthew and Luke attempt to give the time of Jesus' birth approximately, but between these two attempts there is a discrepancy of at least 10 years, for Herod died in 4 BC, while Cyrenius did not become governor of Syria until 7 AD. A reconciliation of these statements is impossible. Matthew clearly states that Jesus was born during the reign of Herod. Luke states that Augustus Caesar issued a decree that the world should be taxed, that this taxing was first made when Cyrenius was governor of Syria, and that Jesus was born at the time of this taxing. All right, well, I found this answer in a book. When critics ask, I have a book on my shelf, I use it all the time, Norman Geisler and Thomas Howe, Victor Books, Wheaton, Illinois, 1992. Probably find a copy of this someplace. If the library's open up again, I'll go online. But Luke has not made an error, the authors Geisler and Howe say. There are reasonable solutions to this difficulty. First, Quintilius Varus was governor of Syria from about 7 BC to about 4 BC. Varus was not a trustworthy leader, a fact that was disastrously demonstrated in AD 9 when he lost 3 legions of soldiers in the Teutoburger forest in Germany. To the contrary, Quirinius was a notable military leader who was responsible for squelching the rebellion of the Homodenesians in Asia Minor. When it came time to begin the census in about 8 or 7 BC, Augustus entrusted Quirinius with a delicate problem in the volatile area of Palestine, effectively superseding the authority and governorship of Varus by appointing Quirinius to a place of special authority in this matter. It has also been proposed that Quirinius, was governor of Syria on 2 separate occasions, once while prosecuting the military action against Homodenesians between 12 and 2 BC, and later beginning about AD 6. A Latin inscription discovered in 1764 has been interpreted to refer to Quirinius as having served as governor of Syria on 2 occasions. It is possible that Luke 2:2 reads, "This census took place before Quirinius was governing Syria." In this case, the Greek word translated first is translated as a comparative before. Because of the awkward construction of the sentence, this is not an unlikely reading. Regardless of which solution is accepted, it is not necessary to conclude that Luke had made an error in recording the historical events surrounding the birth of Jesus. Luke has proven himself to be a reliable historian even in the details. Sir William Ramsay has shown that in making reference to 32 countries, 54 cities, and 9 islands, he made no mistakes. So much for the skeptics. Here's another place I go to, www.christiananswers.net, dictionary, and then you can go just .net and look for all the other points. Let's try looking at that. See if it's still there. These are great resources you get online now that the availability of libraries is slimmer or none. Let's see. Does it answer? Slow internet. Christian Answers, there it is. So you do a search for things that skeptics have asked you about. Let's see. Quirinius. You got, what are you looking for here? Okay. You got a whole set of volumes here. We won't waste any more time, but here's a resource you can use. You can't be a knowledge. By the way, the skeptics expect you to be knowledgeable about all branches of science and archaeology and history and all kinds of things. All they've done is read it someplace else, don't even bother doing their own research. If you don't have an answer, then the Bible has to be destroyed. That's what they're doing about the pandemic now. Everybody's an expert biologist when they don't want to wear their face masks or don't want to respect social distancing. In any case, move back down to 14. His full name was Publius Sulpicius Quirinius. Recent historical investigation has proved that this man was governor of Cilicia, which was annexed to Syria at the time of our Lord's birth. Cilicia, which he ruled, being a province of Syria, he is called the governor, which he was de jure of Syria. Sometime 10 years afterwards, he was appointed governor of Syria for the second time. During his tenure of office at the time of our Lord's birth, a taxing of the people was first made. In other words, it was made for the first time under his government. When Cyrenius was governor of Syria, it is simply a census of the people or an enrollment of them with a view to their taxation. The decree for the enrollment was the occasion of Joseph and Mary's going up to Bethlehem. It has been argued by some that Cyrenius was governor of Cilicia and Syria both at the time of our Lord's birth and some years afterwards. And this decree for the taxing referred to the whole Roman world and not to Judea alone. We have more on this here. Skeptics. Let me reduce the size. Oops. Skeptics maintain. Let me just find this and get the print down. Sensitive keyboard here. Let me close that up. Okay, now we reduce the size. Go back and look for it again. There you go. Skeptics maintain that there was no census, that Luke's mention of it and Quirinius being governor is a fabrication. We have here's another site, folks. www.christian-thinktank.com. a lot of stuff online. Of course, the skeptics, you go, look, you're raising one skeptical thing after another. Go search in these two places on the internet, and if you don't find it or you find something that supports your skeptical point of view, then come back to me. You have to do your homework. Of course, it's better to have the answer available, especially if you have your laptop here, and provide this for them. Then they show that you're willing to do your homework and they'll leave you alone. Or at least they'll be understanding that where they got their source of information, because they don't bother to research most of the time, is questionable. So now you've got a legitimate historical area that you can look at, because most of these, like this Christian think tank and other resources I have, do their homework. They don't just argue against it because they don't like the idea. So here is Robin Lane Fox, The Unauthorized Version, Truth and Fiction in the Bible. The difficulty begins on one small point, but spreads from it like dry rot to bring larger constructions to be the ground. And my answer is, why do I all of a sudden smell polemic? Would you consider dry rot a value-laden term? So, Quirinius, the governor of Syria, whom Luke's gospel mentions, is known for a careful history of affairs in Judea, which was compiled by Josephus, an educated Jew, writing in Greek at Rome between 75 and 80. Josephus had his own prejudices and areas of interest, but he worked with a framework of hard facts which were freely available for checking and which he had collected responsibly. According to Josephus, Quirinius was governor of Syria with authority over Judea in AD 6, when the province was brought under direct Roman control. The year was a critical moment in Jewish history, as important to its province as the 1972 to Northern Ireland, the start of direct rule. On such a fact, at such a moment, Josephus and his sources cannot be brushed aside. There is, however, an awkward problem. Luke's gospel links Jesus' birth with Quirinius. I may have a problem with the word with, but keep going. And with Herod, King Herod, but in AD 6, Herod had long disappeared. He had died soon after an eclipse of the moon, which is dated by astronomers to 1213 March 4 BC, although a minority of scholars have argued for 5 BC instead. So far so good. The gospel therefore assumes that Quirinius and King Herod were contemporaries when they were separated by 10 years or more. Well, the answer, I assume you mean contemporaries in office. They were certainly contemporaries in life. Quirinius, at the time of King Herod's death, was doing military expeditions in the eastern provinces of the Roman Empire. And we have this documented in Tacitus, with some evidence indicating there was either was a co-ruler with the governor of Syria, the somewhat inept Quintilius Varus, or at least placed in charge of the 14-year census in Palestine. Varus was famous for the later fiasco at the Teutoburger Forest in Germany, where he lost a bunch of soldiers, and at his appointment as governor of Syria in 7 BC was largely untested. The census was due in 8 to 7 BC, and Augustus could easily have ordered his trusted Quirinius, fresh from subduing the Pisidian Highlanders, to assist in this volatile project. So he was a governor at that time. Herod I had recently lost favor of the emperor and was probably dragging his feet on taking the census, a process was always enraged the difficult Jews. This would have pushed the time frame into the 5 BC mark, which fits the general data. See, so here's a point-counterpoint. The blue typing is the correct historical refutation. So, we can move back. Just do a careful reading. Now, into the Old Testament. We'll get into that next time.